Hi everyone, welcome back to the Keto Cancer Solution podcast. I'm your host, Heather Shepard. Today, you're listening to episode 9, Mercury Detoxification. Over 95% of the individuals I work with or talk to who have cancer or who've had cancer in the past currently has or have had mercury fillings in their mouth at one point in time. This is significant and is a cause of cancer that most people overlook. One of the most important steps in cancer prevention and to help rectify cancer is to remove poisonous substances from your body, such as mercury. Mercury is one of the most poisonous substances on our planet today, and during today's episode, I'm going to talk about the dangers of mercury, what you can do to remove these metals from your mouth and body, and how you can start detoxing this metal from your body. Before I dive into the episode today, I have to give a disclaimer that the Keto Cancer Solution podcast is not intended as medical advice in the Western medical sense or terms. All information shared on the Keto Cancer Solution podcast is based on my background and extensive education in nutrition, classical Chinese medicine, shamanism, and ancient healing arts. This podcast is to be used for informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. So, welcome to the episode today, and I'm really excited to share this information with you about mercury today, as mercury tends to be an overlooked factor, a contributing factor to cancer that I have found across the board in the individuals that I work with and that I speak to who have cancer. It's becoming more common knowledge that cancer is a modern disease largely caused by environmental factors such as continuous exposure to pollution, poor diet rich in sugar, carbs, processed and packaged foods, iodized salt, soy, and food additives, to name a few. Cancer is largely tied to living a stressful life. It's also caused by poor air quality, poor water quality, over-the-counter drugs, GMOs, prescription drugs, as well as heavy metals. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the most prominent heavy metals that is linked to cancer in my experience, and that is mercury. And I'll particularly be focusing on mercury from amalgam fillings, or what some refer to as silver fillings. In many cases, your dentist may misleadingly refer to mercury fillings as silver fillings. However, silver fillings contain far more mercury than they do silver, as much as 50% more. And this is having very significant impacts on our body. Many people, when diagnosed with cancer, want more answers as to why they got the disease and why it's affecting them. Medical doctors often fall short of offering helpful, insightful answers to this question. I found the answers to this question, the why behind cancer, to be a result of multiple factors that have built over time, not to one single cause. Although each individual experiences cancer for their own unique reasons, there too are many similarities across the board with individuals who have the disease. Mercury fillings are at the top of the list. Over 95% of the individuals I work with, or that I've simply had a conversation with who have cancer or who've had cancer, 95% of these people either have mercury fillings or they've had these fillings at one point in their life. When it comes to cancer, this indeed is one silver lining behind the cause. Many people aren't aware of mercury's potent toxicity. In fact, it's one of the most poisonous substances on the planet. Mercury, a heavy metal known to be poisonous to the human nervous system, so it's neurotoxic, as well as embryotoxic, mutagenic, meaning it can change and manipulate your DNA, and we know that cancer in large is a result of one's DNA becoming damaged and harmed. This does not occur from bad luck or genetics, but from substances that manipulate the genetics that come into our body, such as toxic metals, poor diet, and exposure to environmental toxins and poisons, as well as common household products. All of these things damage the DNA, manipulate our genes, and cause harm to the body. We're seeing a growing number of throat, mouth, and gum cancers today. This can be associated with chewing tobacco or smoking conventional cigarettes, but I've also found that it's undoubtedly associated with mercury fillings in the mouth. The very first places amalgam fillings touch are the gums, teeth, and bones throughout the mouth. The mercury fillings in your mouth travel via the saliva into the esophagus, stomach, and entire digestive tract. Our digestive tract is lined with mucous membranes. These are a huge part of our defense system. Our mucous membranes trap poisons, germs, pathogenic bacteria, pathogenic viruses, pathogenic yeasts, and help them to exit the body. Someone who coughs up a lot of phlegm or has a lot of mucus chronically likely has poisons and often heavy metals lining their mucous membranes in an attempt to excrete the poisons. In fact, we could say that mercury fillings cause cancer because they squelch the body's immune system, this huge part of our immune system, one of our elimination organs, the mucous membranes, and they put a lot of stress on this part of our body, and it has a huge impact on our entire body. So if you have mercury fillings in your mouth, every time you swallow, you're swallowing bits of mercury. Not only are you swallowing this heavy metal, but due to the proximity that the fillings are from your brain, nose, and sinuses, you're constantly breathing in odorless mercury fumes 24/7. I know this may sound a little intense. It's not meant to scare you or put fear into you or say that you're doomed. Not at all. There are many, many ways to deal with mercury toxicity. There are many herbs, supplements, and detoxification protocols to help get this stuff out of your body. The key with this podcast and this information is to help inform you about underlying causes of cancer that your doctors and many people out there simply don't know about or aren't telling you or aren't emphasizing the great importance of. And the great thing is there are a growing number of dentists in the States and Mexico and other countries that are removing mercury fillings from people's mouths. In the U.S., the detrimental effects of amalgam fillings is being hidden from the general population by dentists all around the states, as well as by our federal government. For example, the FDA continuously posts public statements claiming that mercury exposure is safe and harmless unless you're pregnant. The FDA also funds many studies around mercury and its toxicity, creating a very biased outcome that downplays the toxic effects of mercury. In fact, the Colgate toothpaste site claims that many studies on the safety of amalgam fillings have been done. I must mention that the ingredients in Colgate toothpaste, well, you could say they're poisonous. Pretty much every ingredient is produced by a government agency, is GMO, and is extremely toxic. Fluoride, abrasives, and detergents are just a few of the common ingredients in this toothpaste. So it makes a whole lot of sense why they'd support the government's stance on mercury fillings. They're using government-funded products to create their toothpaste. According to a flawed and extremely biased study performed in 2009, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration evaluated the research of mercury fillings, or amalgams. It found no reason to limit the use of amalgam. The FDA concluded that amalgam fillings are safe for adults and children ages 6 and above. Maybe we should ask our government why amalgam fillings are banned in most countries, and why France has just put a ban on the use of mercury fillings in children under the age of 15. And a complete ban on mercury fillings in pregnant women. Maybe we should ask the U.S. government why chronic disease continues to escalate in individuals who have mercury fillings. The U.S. is the only country where the government is promoting this poisonous metal as safe. It's unfortunate that our government doesn't support the health and well-being of the people in its country and makes suggestions based on its own profit and benefit, rather than promoting and supporting things based on how it will impact the people and the planet as a whole. But this narrow power-over approach won't last for long. It's inevitable that this toxic metal will make its way out of our dentist's office. In fact, it already is. Almost 50% of dentists in the U.S. today are picking up on the toxicity of mercury and have chosen to practice mercury-free dentistry despite the inaccurate safety claims made by our government. Not only do mercury fillings harm those who have them in their mouth, they harm the dentist and the dental staff working at the establishment. When mercury is administered into someone's mouth, the dentist handling the mercury is exposed, and the vapors from the poisonous metal make their way into the air, exposing all of those in the building and surrounding environment. Many dentists who've used mercury for even a short period of time have gotten cancer and even heart disease themselves. I remember my dentist growing up, Dr. Smith. He was considered a healthy individual, always running and taking care of his body. He was a fit and healthy guy on the outside. One day, he suddenly and unexpectedly had a heart attack and died at a really young age. This was a fit, trim guy, a healthy guy. It is my prediction that his excessive, frequent exposure to mercury was the culprit for taking his young life. There are many stories like this about dentists out there today all over the world. They are one of the sickest populations due to their constant exposure to mercury. Many people with mercury fillings are starting to realize that they need to get their mercury fillings removed, that it's damaging their health and the culprit of many health issues. Some of the weird diseases that Western doctors can't seem to wrap their heads around, such as fibromyalgia, arthritis, autoimmune conditions, endocrine disorders, and thyroid disorders, often have mercury toxicity involvement from past or present amalgam fillings. The good news is that many dentists are now offering mercury removal as part of their practice. Some even make this their main practice, such as biological dentists. However, you don't want to be quick to just have any dentist remove your mercury fillings. This metal is so toxic that having a dentist that is highly trained in mercury removal and uses safe mercury removal practices is paramount. The air in the room and in the patient need to be ventilated in a way where the patient, dentist, dental staff, and other clients in the office don't become exposed. It is a wise idea for the patient to take a handful of food-grade supplements before having their mercury removed to help safely extract any loose mercury that finds its way into the body during the removal process. Special face masks need to be worn by the patient and dentist that covers the patient's lips and face so any mercury that is sloughed off during the removal process doesn't make its way into the body, exposing even more of your body and different parts of your body to this poisonous metal. Many people don't take all of these crucial aspects into consideration when it comes to mercury removal. One individual I worked with was determined to get her mercury filling out. She couldn't afford to get it removed by a biological dentist at the time, and a biological dentist is a dentist who specializes in safe mercury filling removal for all. They are trained to do this and typically use the proper equipment and ventilation systems to safely remove mercury fillings. So, this woman was determined to get her mercury removed no matter what it took. The tooth the mercury filling was in was actually damaged and cracked, a common occurrence and side effect of metal fillings. These things cause way more harm than good, as you can see. The dentist in upstate New York that performed her mercury removal was not trained in this area. He did not have the proper equipment or tools or ventilation systems in place. Instead, he dove right into the procedure, drilling out the mercury. The woman knew something was off as mercury pieces started flying everywhere, landing on her lips, tongue, and face throughout the procedure. This is not how I suggest you have your mercury fillings removed and can cause a lot of further damage and toxicity from the procedure itself. Another individual I worked with had the same thing happen to her. She used an untrained dentist to remove her mercury fillings, and since this whole procedure, she's experienced hormonal disorders, including PCOS and migraine headaches, chronically since the procedure. Having your mercury removed in this way is extremely toxic and exposes mercury poisoning to several areas of the body. Another individual I know has worked in the dental industry for years and has been exposed to mercury on a regular basis. This individual experienced a very intense form of cancer. More and more people have started researching the effects of mercury more intently and non-biasedly. For example, there have been studies performed where amalgam fillings were made outside of the mouth. These fillings were then placed in sterile water for 15 minutes to several hours. They then tested this water for toxicity. The result was that the solutions in which amalgams were soaked, even for just 15 minutes, were extremely toxic. This work is supported by reports doing similar experiments at the University of Michigan Dental School, where they described solutions in which amalgams were soaked as being extremely toxic. Many of us can grasp the physical symptoms of mercury toxicity: anxiety, migraine headaches, infertility, body aches and pains, joint pain, low immunity, heavy periods, brain fog, chronic sinus infections, inflammation in the body, to name a few. But often, people undermine or simply are unaware of mercury's toxic effects that stem from its invisible vapor. Mercury vapors wreak havoc on the body in multiple ways, including the impact it has on feeding pathogenic bacteria, pathogenic fungus, including candida, pathogenic viruses, and detrimental yeasts in the body. These things thrive on mercury. Not only that, mercury creates a solid, concrete metallic blanket throughout the body. It lines the body. And below this blanket are where these pathogenic substances settle in and continuously damage the body. Once the mercury begins to be removed from the body, these substances can surface, causing a host of issues in the individual if the detoxification process isn't gone about in an effective, safe manner. This is why a mercury detox protocol is so much more than getting the metals out of your mouth. Once the metals are out, that's outstanding. But you then have to detox the metals from your body. You have to boost your immune system and take a host of food-grade supplements and eat foods that help to also remove the underlying pathogens out of the body as well. Each of your cells have many receptor sites on them where nutrients and oxygen attach. This is a good and desirable thing. However, mercury often shoves these nourishing, life-giving substances off the receptor sites and takes their place. Once the mercury is out of your mouth, it's important to also reestablish the health of your cell receptor sites so they can begin to receive nourishment again and not be continuously poisoned by mercury. I have found my radionics and nutrition practice to be exceptionally helpful and effective for helping the body to detox mercury and recover from mercury poisoning. If you're someone who has or has had mercury fillings in your mouth, there's a lot you can do to help remove these poisons from your body and to help your organs, endocrine system, lymph, mucous membranes, and immune system recover. First, be sure to take your time when looking for a dentist to remove these fillings. You want a biological dentist to remove your mercury from your mouth. Also, it's super important that you incorporate mercury removal detox strategies into your life before mercury removal, during removal, literally as you're sitting in the dentist chair waiting to have the procedure done, and after the removal, for many years after, not just a day, not just a week or month after your fillings are removed, but for years after. Also, many people who have explored or self-researched substances to help with mercury toxicity may have come across one of the most popular options, cilantro tincture. Cilantro tincture can be one of many necessary remedies to incorporate into your mercury detox protocol. However, you do not want to take cilantro tincture or supplements while the mercury is still in your mouth. This can further draw the mercury out of your mouth and leach it into other parts of your body, as the cilantro will do its job of removing mercury. However, you want to make sure you have your amalgam fillings out before diving into cilantro tincture. Eating cilantro in small amounts in the diet doesn't seem to have too potent of an effect on stimulating mercury release from mercury fillings. However, you may want to pay attention to how your body feels immediately after you eat cilantro and even up to a week after you've eaten cilantro to see how it's affecting you personally if you have mercury fillings. Also, due to cilantro's potent ability to suck up poisons and poisonous metals, it is really important that you purchase organic cilantro products. Conventionally grown cilantro products contain a much higher degree of heavy metals as they pull the metals out of the deficient and poisoned soils that they're grown in. and they can even suck up the fumes from the pesticides and herbicides that are applied to the plant. And these substances often contain mercury and other heavy metals, which make their way into the cilantro plant. This is yet another reason why eating as close to a 100% organic diet as you can and growing your own food as often as you can is so incredibly important. There's so much more to talk about with regard to mercury, but that's a great starting point for those of you out there who are exploring all the different reasons as to why you may have cancer or the causes of cancer and how mercury fillings contribute to the disease. For those of you who have mercury fillings, if you have cancer, you may want to wait until your body is stronger to have the mercury removed from your mouth. There are ways to help diminish the effects of mercury poisoning from amalgams until you're able to have these removed by a biological dentist. Once the mercury is removed, there are additional protocols to add in to help remove this stuff from your body. For those of you who have already had your mercury fillings removed, it's incredibly important to get on a safe, gentle, yet effective detox program to help get this toxic stuff out of your cells, gut lining, mucous membranes, lymph nodes, and other organs. This is an ongoing process that takes years to detox from the body. And the people I've seen have the most success with detoxing and removing mercury from their body have committed to engaging in long-term dietary and supplement strategies and support to aid in this ongoing process. If you're interested in detoxing mercury or other heavy metals from your body in safe, effective, gentle, yet potent ways, I encourage you to reach out to me to have a discussion about what this process may look like for you. Having mercury or other metals in your mouth can be a big block to healing, meaning it can hold you back from the progress you're seeking with your health, no matter what treatment strategies you've engaged in and have tried, and no matter how much money those treatments have cost. If the mercury is still in there, you can only go so far with your healing. Helping people detox from mercury poisoning and other heavy metal poisons is one huge area that I help people with so they can begin to experience and feel and embrace the health that they've been striving towards, often for years, without real success. If you're interested in learning more about my approach to mercury detox, you can contact me at Keto Cancer Solution at gmail.com to set up a complimentary session to talk more about this and what this may look like for you. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this episode empowering and insightful along your healing journey. Remember, healing is a journey in and of itself. It's a lifelong event. If we're not healing ourselves each day in some way, we're not giving our body the space, care, and attention it needs to be healthy and to thrive and to fend off diseases such as cancer in the body. We each have the ability to support our health and well-being each and every day. For those of you interested in learning more about my work, you can visit me at ketocancersolution.com or feel free to join my private Keto Cancer Solution Facebook group over at facebook.com/groups/Keto Cancer Solution. This is a safe space for people to ask their questions about cancer and to receive real, honest, non-toxic feedback regarding how to approach this disease from a place of true empowerment. Thanks so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next time.